Hi, welcome to our podcast. My name's Sham Ahmed. I'm a director here at Annapurna, leading our technical team. It's great to welcome Andrei here, who's a CTO from my network, know really well. We're going to discuss the first 90-day playbook for a CTO coming into a new business. Andrei's got a wealth of experience within this area, and yeah, it'd be great for you to do an intro, Andrei, to let our listeners know a little bit more about you to start off with.
Thanks, Sham. Thanks for having me. I'm Andrei, Chief Technology Officer at McKenzie Intelligence Services. I've been in engineering for the past 15 years. I think most recently I've kind of specialized within the data field for the past 6 or 7. I'm currently leading a team of software engineers and data engineers building a geospatial intelligence platform that covers natural and man-made disasters. It is a mouthful. It's quite interesting work.
It's an interesting space for sure. Yeah,
very interesting, I think. Yeah, it's something that we're a lot more aware of, and it seems to be happening more and more of. It's quite interesting to have an observable layer of the world in real time.
Yeah, sure. Amazing. So what we wanted to discuss today, as I mentioned, was how you would approach the first 90 days coming into a business. Obviously, you've got experience of this in your current role, but it'd be great for our listeners to understand from the lens of a CTO, an experienced CTO, how they would approach that. So quite, a good point to start would be for you to describe how you would understand the landscape of a team, a technical team, and a wider business coming in, and how you would assess that, and as a starting point, really, when you go in.
So I think it's really important to kind of speak to everybody and understand everybody's views, ask for feedback. I think that's extremely important because you need to understand what your department kind of feels like, but also what the wider company feels like towards your department and how that interaction works. I think it's really important then to audit everything that is being done currently. And what the outcomes have been from how it's been done in the past, and then kind of plan what it will do in the future. Keep what works, change what doesn't work.
Yeah, of course. Amazing. And how would you kind of look at the true state of engineering and technology? And I guess the bridge between tech and non-tech, you touched upon that just now anyway, but that I'm assuming would be a big part of the assessment coming in.
100%. I think technology is a delivery function because you need to deliver the product.
Yeah.
Product defines what the product is, and then technology delivers. So it's really important that you're in touch with, of course, your product team, but also then the wider company, because there are a lot of other things that will come in to kind of define what you need to do. You need to understand your customers, extremely important. You need to have a direct line to the feedback from your customers. You need to really understand the board's objectives, the executives' objectives, investors, if you have investors as well. So you need to really understand what everyone's objectives are. And then you kind of need to really understand the landscape as well of the business you're in, what the market looks like, what the future looks like, understand will this product scale? If it doesn't, what do I need to do, and so on.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, that seems a very sensible place to start, and I guess that's what's going to help set you in the right path into the role. So another thing I wanted to ask you about was how you have gone about, and how you would say you made a change in the future in terms of building trust with not just your direct reports, but the wider engineering team, and also with other stakeholders within the business. You might be reporting into a founder or a COO, and again, it's pushing back on that bridge between that technical language to the non-technical stakeholders in the business. Building trust with your reports, your wider team, and with the people that you're reporting into in the wider business. I mean, you would have done that before, but it'd be great for our listeners to understand your approach to that, really.
Constant communication is extremely important, and transparency.
Yeah.
Keep communicating about what you're doing, when it's going to be ready by, what will be ready, and if it's not going to be ready, or if something is wrong, communicate right away. So be transparent as well. Don't try to hide anything. So I think those two things will build trust, and trust is really what you need in any kind of relationship, right?
Yeah,
in this case, a work relationship.
Yeah, for sure.
It's extremely important that people trust what you do, people trust the output, and then your team trusts you to lead that department. So I think, if I repeat, communication, transparency, those are the key pillars to build trust.
Yeah, I think that's right across, not just in a work environment, as you said, just in relationships in general. Have you had any issues with that in the past, coming into a business to gain trust? Sometimes if there's a well-established team, and this can be in my world or yours really, if you're coming in as a senior figure or a leader, it can be quite cliquey sometimes, some of these teams. So how do you break through that and become someone that they trust and can rely on and report into as well? So
no, I think it's completely right. I think almost every business that you will join, when you join as a leader, you will come from a place of no trust or a place of distrust, because you're kind of bringing in change for people that might not necessarily want change or expect change.
Yeah.
So I think the most important thing is, within whatever is possible, let's say the first 30, 60, 90 days, to just show success somehow. Show this is another way of doing things, and this is something that I was able to do and wasn't possible before.
Okay, cool. So another thing we wanted to talk about was kind of, again, this is going to be something that you will have done, probably are doing all the time, but there'll be certain pivot points in a business or a project lifecycle where there's pressure and prioritization, basically. How do you go about looking at priorities and getting that message to the team for them to focus on the priorities, and also aligning with the business in terms of their priorities might be different to a technical team, or might not be realistic? So again, how do you communicate that, would you say?
Well, I think it's important to understand kind of the level of importance of priority, because you have a priority to, let's say, your shareholders, you have a priority to your clients, you have a priority to your vendors, to your wider organization, to your team. So it's different to understand kind of what level of importance you assign to each of those priorities. Typically, you would say, the board, the executives, the shareholders, they usually have the highest level of priority, right?
Yeah, of course.
Then you would say probably the clients, because they're paying, right? Then you would say senior leadership, then middle management, and so on, right? So it really depends kind of where you attribute it. I think it's always important to tie to an objective. A lot of times it's revenue, right? So the priority should be the thing that gives you, the highest output for your objective or revenue or whatever it is.
Well, I think we've said this before to each other. Most jobs, business functions are always about revenue generation or cost saving. So it's delivering that, isn't it? And that's got to be the priority ultimately.
Yes, because at the end of the day, a business is really there to generate profit, right? Because it needs to grow constantly to keep the lights on, right? A business that never grows cannot possibly survive.
Yeah, of course. And as a CTO, you're obviously C-level, you're reporting in and alongside the board, basically, and that's you've got to present the technical unit to deliver that. So I guess that's getting that message across to your team as well.
Yes, exactly.
Where everyone's fighting the same fight almost, I would say. So,
exactly that. You need to kind of present the message in a way to understand, we're doing this because of that reason, right? We're contributing to the wider objective, or we're putting this other project off for a while because we need to do this now.
Yeah, and this is why. Exactly.
Exactly.
So, cool. Another thing, this is obviously more leaning towards our world, but again, I've been in technology recruitment for 15 years, so our careers are quite similar in that, actually. So in terms of hiring, hiring and talent assessment, so I speak to different CTOs, engineering managers, VPs that have sometimes a different lens on how they would hire. What's your viewpoint on that, and how do you, from start to finish, go about a hiring process? What's important to you?
I think it's really important to understand the drivers of why a person would join a job. And it's important to show growth potential, right? That they will be rewarded if they perform. So that's really important, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is really important is motivation. So making sure a person that joins in, right, will be able to grow.
Yeah.
The other part, I typically go for generalists.
Mm-hmm.
People that are really good at doing anything because they tend to be more flexible, they tend to be more adaptable, and with the advent of AI, it kind of removes a lot of the learning curves from a lot of specialized industry, because you can just prompt a chatbot and say, teach me everything there is about astrophysics.
Sure.
Right, and then it explains in a very easy, understandable way.
Yeah.
So I think generalists will do fairly well right now in this current landscape.
Yeah.
So if I really think about it in three ways, it would be it's your responsibility to make sure that you have enough work for the person, you have a career, right? Career path.
They've got to see a path.
100%, right? Then you need somebody who's very motivated, and you need a generalist. So I think that's how I would generally start any recruitment process.
In terms of hiring, obviously different CTOs have a different viewpoint on this, but what do you see as a almost perfect process in terms of stages? At what point would you put in the test? And what kind of timeline do you like to work to? I know it's not always possible, but what's your ideal in terms of a cycle, in terms of a hiring process?
I think overall probably 1 or 2 months.
Yeah.
Of course, depending on seniority. If it's a very senior role, maybe 3 months. But ideally, if it's like an entry level or a mid level role, 2 weeks to 1 month. I think it's beneficial for both the company and the candidate as well. So if you find the right person, you should just kind of fast track the process.
Yeah.
In terms
That's
of
music to our ears.
yes,
sometimes we're battling against that. But
in terms of rounds, I think about 4.
Yeah.
The first one would be an intro call with the people team, kind of like a initial culture kind of feel for that person. Then it is the technical test with a live coding part as well, which is extremely important. You can ask questions, but really at the end of the day, you need to do the thing that you're going to do for the next however many years, right? You need to prove that you can do it.
Yeah, of course.
Then a culture round with some senior managers or middle managers from the business. Yeah. And then finally a meet and greet with the majority of the people that you're going to work with. Yeah. So everyone in the department, and then maybe like the product team. Yeah. And maybe a few more. And that one is unanimous.
Yeah, I think that's a thorough process, and it gives also the candidate potentially coming in a good overview of where they'll be joining.
Yeah, and who they will be working with, what they will be doing.
Yeah. I wanted to get your thoughts on I guess the early metrics that matter coming into this type of role. Again, say Q1, first 90 days. What would you be looking at, and what would you pay attention to in terms of those metrics coming in? And is there any times where you can draw on examples of when you've done this, perhaps?
I think my one most important metric in technology will always be number of releases. Yeah. How often do you release? How impactful is your release? I think that's 100% my most important metric, because it is a delivery department. I want to get things out of the door. Yeah. And then I want to see the feedback on that release. How impactful was it? How happy are the clients with it? Is there any revenue that I can tie to it? Then the cost, right? Technology is an expensive department, let's be honest. Yeah. And there are still companies that see it as a cost center, not as a revenue generator. Even though we're in the AI age, right? People still think, I gotta hire more expensive engineers. Yeah. When really it is the department that builds all of your capabilities, right? Yeah. Without it, what are you gonna do? Yeah, it's like an automaker saying, I'm not gonna buy any car parts and I'm not gonna hire any mechanics. Yeah. Well, you're not gonna have a car, right? Yeah. So I think it's important to kind of position this department, the technology department, as a revenue generator in the long run, even if it is indirect, and not place it as a cost center within the company. So release very often, track the feedback, see if you can tie any revenue. Those are extremely important. But still cut costs, because it is a big cost. Almost always in most companies, especially tech companies, your biggest expense will be the technology department. So I think those are the most important ones to start with.
Yeah, makes sense. Perfect. So again, pushing on something that maybe you can draw on, what would you give an example of the first big decision or significant decision you've made as a CTO, coming into a new role, or once you're in a role, and what kind of informed that decision as well? What led you to that decision, and how was it received as well?
I think the most important one would be figuring out what works and what doesn't. Because it could be process, but it could also be people, which is a lot more difficult, right?
Yeah, of course.
Then you kind of need to deal with that. So in my current role, for example, it was the case of both. So there was quite a big reset that had to happen within the first 3 to 6 months, where we went from 8 people down to 2, and then up to 7. So it was a massive shift, right, within the department, but also in the wider company. Because sometimes changing process isn't enough. You actually do need to change the people, because you don't have any control of who was already there. And their way of working and their expertise and so on. But you do have control of what happens after you join.
Yeah, of course, and that is obviously on you as well when you come in, and that's where you can show impact as well, I guess.
Exactly. Because if I go back to the metrics, how often did you deliver? How many times? Can you cut costs? And all of those things you kind of need to keep in check within, especially the first 30 to 60, 90 days, whatever it is.
So in an instance, for example, if you do need to make some changes, as you did in this example, how is that sometimes received within the remaining team members? And again, this is going back to winning hearts almost when you come into a business. How do you still keep those people on side whose colleagues might be being exited for different reasons, and still keep them motivated as part of the new journey moving forward, as remaining legacy team members, if you like?
Well, let's be honest, it is a traumatic experience, regardless how you look at it, regardless of what happens, right? And you could assume, right, that those people would have worked together for so long, right, for a long time, and then all of a sudden they're gone, right, and they're their friends. So it's always going to be difficult to do. If I go back to a previous question that you asked, right, on what do you do when you hire? You need motivation, you need a career path, you need to keep people interested. Those are some very important things that you need to do constantly, not just when you hire somebody.
Of course.
Because those are the real motivators for people. Like, where am I going to go from here? Is there another goal that I can reach within 2 years, or am I stuck here forever? Because that's when people leave. If you give people very interesting projects and goals and a career path, they're a lot happier and they want to stay. So kind of planning for that is extremely important.
Yeah, I mean, we speak to people that are obviously open to the market or on the market, and a common theme is to do with that motivation, really, in terms of a lot of it is just stagnation, and it's not that they have a problem with the business they're in or the people they work with. It's more to do with personal development. And kicking on career-wise, really.
And my most recent departure in my current role was a data scientist that we didn't have any projects for, so he just left because he ended up doing mostly data engineering and data analytics, but he was a data scientist and wanted to do data science, so he just left.
So there's no counter offer you can make to that, right?
Well, there's no project that I could give, right? Because that person really wants to do data science, so
No, that's cool. So I wanted to ask you about coming in again, early stages. How long do you wait to assess process again, engineering practices, methodologies, tools even that are being used before you may look to make changes or make things more efficient? How long do you give that before you look at changing things if necessary? That is, of course. So,
yeah. Well, I think when you come in, you need to look at everything right away.
Yeah.
And understand how it works. Is it efficient? How much output do you get from it? Is it what you would expect, or is it less than you would expect?
Yeah.
And is there something that you would know would do a lot better job, and then start slowly introducing it? So I think initially, instantly, and then let's say you're past the first 90 days. Probably every month would be a decent amount, or every quarter. Maybe tied to when your cost cycle kind of gets reported. Like if you report cost per quarter, then look at that. If you report it per month, then look at that. Yeah. So I would say definitely tied to cost, because it's extremely important to keep it in balance.
Yeah, agreed. Obviously, I think you've been at McKenzie for about 3 years now, is it? What was there a lot of change when you came in there from a technical point of view that you had to implement?
Yes. For example, on the cloud, on the cloud front, there were 4 cloud providers, which was a bit too much for a business this small. So we consolidated to one single one, to Azure.
Yeah.
The domains as well were kind of split across 3 different registrars. So our application is misgl.io or .com, and those different domains were split across 3 different places, which is, again, very bad practice. So we consolidated that. Yeah. Then DNS was all consolidated in Cloudflare and so on. So doing all of that work is extremely important. Consolidation, right? Yeah. Then
that leads into efficiency, obviously.
100%. And people know there's only one place that I need to look and one place that I need to fix. Then I think cost cutting was extremely important. So looking at every single invoice that you get, understanding, is this what I'm supposed to pay, or can I do better? So Cloud Bill, for example, I did a very deep dive into the spend, and within, I think, the first 3 to 6 months, I reduced it by 60%.
Yeah, nice.
By just shutting down services that were never used, by downscaling services that were provisioned for load that didn't exist, and so on. So that's extremely important. Renegotiating contracts with vendors as well. If it doesn't have a discount, I don't want it. So that's how I approach every negotiation with a vendor.
Yeah, sure.
What is my discount? I'm not taking the list price, and I'm not taking your first discount. I need your second or third discount.
Yeah, the real price, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. No, that's a good answer, and obviously a good example of what you've done in your current role. So again, this will be what you've done in the past, what you would do in the future, and what you have done in your current role. How do you kind of align with the CEO, product leadership, and different key stakeholders in the org to make sure technology is kind of contributing strategically to the goal? You might not always agree as well, right, with the CEO. They might not understand from a technical point of view that their expectation might be unrealistic, or that they could be pushing for more as well from certain aspects. So how do you go about that? How have you presented your case? How have you got approvals in the past for certain projects? That would be good to understand that as well from your point of view.
I think in the big picture, product and technology need to operate as one.
Agreed,
as in, you couldn't tell the two apart. This is the product project that we need to do, or product feature that we need to do. It should be a one-to-one with technology.
Yeah.
So I think position it as, this is the product that we want to build, these are the features that we need to put in it, or this is the new product that we want to build, these are the features that we need to put in it. Yeah. That's the most important part.
Yeah.
And then we're building this product because we have that objective to break into this new market, into this new geography, which means building for it.
Yeah.
And how do you build? With technology.
Yeah, of course.
So technology, again, is the delivery department, product is the ideation department, right? It comes up with a new product with features and so on. So working step in step with product is extremely important, because there shouldn't be a disconnect. There shouldn't be like, we're product, give us money to think about the product,
Yeah,
and the client interviews and so on.
Yeah.
This is technology.
Yeah.
There's there are just some engineers. There are just some engineers.
Yeah.
No, it's one kind of bigger department that is made out of two smaller
Well, it
departments.
has to be almost like a sort of a symbiotic relationship because you rely on each other, right?
100%.
And to deliver. So we've seen that. I see that anyway, where I guess more technologists are product minded and vice versa as well. And then you have the role of CPTO in the market now as well, which is almost like two roles in one, but you know, it kind of is what we're talking about here as well. So
I generally think it's extremely important for product and technology to work very closely together.
Yeah.
Almost act as if they're one department, even though their skill set is different, maybe their leadership is different. Just assume you're one department.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay. Amazing. So I guess I wanted to close with any lessons or advice you might give to an aspiring CTO or a junior CTO or somebody at that layer below that is perhaps looking at the market that wants to step into that role, maybe in a smaller startup or where they'll be given an opportunity to take on more responsibility. Based on your experience and your journey so far, what advice would you give to someone in that position as a peer, really, and you know how they should think about things?
You're not an engineer or leader.
Yeah,
that would be the first one.
Yeah,
because I think people within technology tend to move up in the ranks, but always kind of act as an engineer or think as an engineer. But by that point, you need to be a leader and a senior leader.
Yeah,
and you need to be strategic. You need to think about revenue. You need to think about cost, right? You need to think about clients. You need to think about the market. So move away from just thinking as an engineer. Oh, I'm going to do this project because it's going to make my app a bit faster. Not relevant.
Yeah.
I need to do this project because this is a new market. It's not tapped into. It's maybe a niche that I've found.
Yeah.
And if we build this, the total addressable market is like, I don't know, 5 billion. Maybe we tap into like 0.1%. That's still enough.
Yeah.
And we're going to go forward with the project. So that's kind of the mindset shift that you need to do. So the most important part is don't think as an engineer.
Yeah.
Think as a leader and a strategist.
Yeah, sure. So look at things from a more removed, wider scope and a bigger lens, really.
Think revenue, think cost, think everything else, not just code.
Yeah. Have you found, or do you think that sometimes people from that engineering background find it tough to almost let go of that hands-on element and thinking like an engineer?
100%.
Yeah.
It was very tough for me as well.
Yeah.
I think it's tough for everybody because you end up knowing it so well, and you like doing it, and then all of a sudden you're thinking, oh wow, I'm never going to do that thing again because now I need to do this other very different thing.
Yeah.
But it's really understanding like where you will bring the most impact.
Yeah.
And understanding that in the grand scheme of things, somebody needs to do, the CTO role as well.
Yeah.
And you might as well do it very well.
Yeah.
By ensuring that you focus on, again,
and that knowledge is going to stand you in good stead and again get you buy-in because you've been on the field of play almost, and done it. So when you're going into a business, you've earned your stripes from an engineering point of view, and you can show that as well. So
exactly, because you still need to have conversations with the engineers. You need to understand exactly what will happen, when they do this or when they raise an issue.
Yeah.
Is it a really big issue? Do you need to stop a release because something is happening? So you need to still be able to converse on a very technical perspective.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Amazing. All right, Andrew. I mean, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I think your insight's going to be really useful to our listeners. And we're going to talk again. We've got some other topics to discuss. So I look forward to doing it again soon.
Same. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Andrew. Cheers.
Thanks.